Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone. I'm going to be going over today's 9-game slate in the association, but before I get started, like always, I appreciate you guys drop a like. If you're new here, never seen any of my videos before, the only thing you need to do to be a part of the community, get access to the videos, is to become a subscriber. All right, so make sure you subscribe down below before you go, and don't forget to put on your post notifications. This way you don't miss out on any of my NBA videos, which I upload an NBA video 6 days a week right now. When the NFL season concludes, there'll be 7 days a week of NBA videos, so a whole lot of content coming your way throughout the entire NBA season. Also on this channel, I do a weekly giveaway, and we will announce this week's winner because I do the drawing every Sunday and I announce it on Monday. So I do have a winner for this week. The weekly drawing is basically an opportunity for my subscribers to get either my player pool, which I have also on my Patreon page, which you can easily get. I provide either the player pool, I give them an option of the player pool, or the quick research sheet where you can just got all the research information that I generally look at, and then I'll be enhancing that search sheet even more. So almost every week I'm going to be adding another category or two to it. So the spreadsheet is going to be, 8-9 different statistical research data that I make my decisions on as far as putting my players together for my actual lineups. So you'll have that opportunity to have that. The only thing you need to do to be a part of that giveaway, get access to that, is basically like the video. Make sure you comment down below anything regarding the slate, and of course you have to be a subscriber to the channel. And if all three check out, you will get an opportunity to have that choice by hitting me up. So this week's winner, and first before I go, that information is all accessible, ready to go. I got tiers in my Patreon page, link in the description down below of this video. It's patreon.com/DFS Zone if you want to be able to get access to the player pool. The player pool gets updated throughout the day, at least 2 or 3 times, all the way to about half hour to 25 minutes before lock. It gives everybody at least 20 more minutes to look over some players if you're undecided. But you'll see, if you want to know firsthand where I'm at throughout the course of the day, the player pool is one of the best tiers that I have available to you. That also includes a private Discord chat, which we can interact with each other throughout the day, which a few, a few of you got to take advantage of that throughout the course of the day. The other thing also is, the quick search sheet is not an updated item because all the information is there is for you to do your research and to minimize your research time. So you basically have everything in front of you, decide what you like, pinpoint your plays, and then you can go ahead and do what you need to do to draw, put your lineups together. So it's very, very simple. And I also have available to you guys what I believe are the top 5. And usually, for those of you who already are involved in my Patreon page, you guys know that you get more than 5 selections a day. I indicate there top 5 GPP, which are tournament plays, top cash, and any value plays. I throw in there everything. So by the time you get it, you're gonna get maybe more than 14, 15 players easily on that actual sheet. And everything is all in spreadsheet format with filters, so you can filterize and zero in on fantasy points per minute or fantasy points per game, or if you want to know the usage, whatever the case may be. Okay, so that is at patreon.com/DFS Zone. All right, so this week's weekly winner is Ricky Gilkis or Gilkis. Let me know. Basically, just reach out to me in one of my socials. Ricky, I appreciate you guys being a subscriber, and of course being someone that comments on my videos, and hopefully you're dropping the likes on a regular basis. But Ricky, reach out to me on my socials. You can hit me up on Twitter or on Facebook, as well as Instagram, or even right in the comment section of this actual video, and with your information, I'll be able to get you the choice of the player pool or the quick research sheet for you for the entire week. As long as it's 2 games or more in this week, pretty much I think we're good to go for the entire 7 days. You'll be able to have access to that every single day. All right, so congratulations to Ricky. Let's move on. All right, so let's get to today's slate, man. So a 9-gamer, and at the top at point guard, we got Russell Westbrook, got Malcolm Brogdon, Kemba Walker, Ja Morant. You got a couple of guys here. I mean, obviously at the top, Russell Westbrook obviously is in play. His price tag is getting up there because he's been putting up some huge numbers as of late. But I'm not high on Russell or Harden today. I think that because I play some GPPs and I play quite a bit of the quarter GPPs, I'll definitely will have some lineups. Will I have some exposure to Westbrook or Harden or both, but not necessarily as a core. For the sake of the video, there are a couple of guys I do think are guys you should keep in your radar. Obviously, you got Walker. I think he's in a good matchup here as well with Cleveland. And then you got Ricky Rubio also, I believe, is someone that should be in play. And then you got, of course, Eric Bledsoe going up against Orlando. Now, again, Orlando has been struggling a little bit. Milwaukee's been dominating a lot of teams, so a little weary there. That game has, a huge spread, surprisingly, with Orlando being a pretty good defensive team. It will be a pace-up game for Orlando, obviously, going up against Milwaukee. But I'm going to come down to Alonzo Ball. I think Alonzo Ball here at 6,000. You need 30 to meet value. He's averaging 27. This is a good matchup. And another thing with the large slates, like I said, I'm trying to also look for the games that are going to be competitive, but also have high implied totals. And again, it varies, depending on the slate. So there are some slates where there's only 5 or 6 games, and there's a couple of games that are going to be with very, very close spreads. That means they're going to be competitive and close, at least the way Vegas sees them. This is a game that Vegas feels there's going to be a close game. I think, right now it's only a 5-point spread in this matchup here. It's going to be one of the higher totals of the night. So you want to have some exposure to some of those games. And sometimes people ask, man, well, why is it that I have, tonight it was like almost a 390 score you needed to have, or 400 or better. Well, one thing to remember is you got it. Sometimes it exceeds what Vegas is predicting, but if you're looking at the implied totals and you want to gauge yourself, you want to have yourself a chance to possibly be a part of those high-scoring games, high-scoring players in those particular tournaments, you're going to have exposure to some of those high implied total games. So the high implied total games, the really, really high ones, you want to have exposure, especially if they're going to be competitive. Especially, those are the ones you want, because they may end up being in a tie out of regulation. You may get a fifth, another 5 minutes, you get another overtime, and it really opens up the doors to really tally in a lot of fantasy points. So make sure that you try to stay on top of those games. And the ones that are not, if they're going to be respectable and high implied totals. So for me tonight, there are a couple of games that are considered blowouts. And when you're considering blowout games, consider the players that are going to come off the bench for the team that may be blowing out the opponent, and vice versa. Who is going to be on that team that's getting blown away, that more than likely, usually when they have these games that are getting a little out of hand, get those secondary, those longer minutes on the floor and are active as far as usage is concerned. That's what you got to target. So that's where all the little research has to come into play. But again, 9-game slate, that's what you got to do. I think you also need to concentrate on having at least 2 core lines or more, and then definitely, obviously, stay on top of the news for value. And when value opens up, especially towards late in the day, those are the guys you want to pencil in. So that's just a little tips there. I got a little off track there, but I wanted to let you know, because I feel that it's important to give those who are fairly new and don't know, some information like that will be critical for them as far as making decisions later on. So again, back to Lonzo Ball. The minutes are there. 27 plus over the last 4. This game here, he played 27 minutes, but this was a blowout. They got really destroyed by Dallas. Even though he played 27 minutes, he didn't put up a whole lot. I'm not bearing it on this. I'm gonna go on the factors that he is playing today. In a favorable matchup, in a matchup that he should do well, and it's going to have high implied totals, and at the same time he has tremendous upside. As you can see, he could get you at least 50. It's not like he cannot. He can get you close to a double-double. He brings a little bit of defense, can get you some blocks and steals, but at 30 plus minutes, that is not too bad. That last game, he shot a 1 of 9 and 0 of 7 from 3, so it was just a poor shooting night and a blowout situation, and not a great night for Lonzo. I expect him to bounce back here. This is a get-right game for him. He has his home and away splits looking at him a little bit better. He has a 40%, shooting 40% from the floor and 35% from 3. He can get you the rebounds, like I said, and of course he has the potential to get you assists as well, and blocks and steals. Detroit coming in here, 4th most turnover team in the NBA, in the league, so it definitely opens up the doors for Lonzo to get a couple more steals. Ball has 50-point upside. His usage rate is at 21%. He takes about 11, 12 shots a game, and he takes about 6 or 7 threes. If he buries those shots on a nice consistent basis, he should be all right. If he could knock him down at 40-45%, he should be able to smash value here today. I really do believe that. He's going up against Detroit. They're 26 in defending point guards, allowing 28.7 fantasy points per game. This is over the course of the last 5 games. Remember, I always gauge things over the course of 5 to as much as 6 games, and maybe if I want to just shorten it up a little bit more, I go into at least the last 4 games. Brogdon put up 34 in the last game against them, and 31 by Bledsoe. Bledsoe did that in a blowout situation, so that's something to consider there. That's what I look at too, is that he played only 27 minutes in that blowout game against Detroit, and he put up still 31. Okay, so that's over the course of the last 5 games. So Alonzo Ball for me in play with some upside in a competitive game against Detroit, and where it's going to be paced up for Detroit. So Alonzo Ball in playing, like I said, there's a couple of guys in play now. When it comes to point guards over here on DraftKings, you can go with Ball at 5,200. But I'm willing to go up a little higher there. And for me, I kind of like Kyle Lowry a whole lot here. Remember, last night, Van Fleet injured his knee or something like that. And there's a good chance he's not going to come and play today. I doubt it very much. He's going to be probably sore, maybe a little swelling. So I do like Lowry. I do like Norman Powell a whole lot here, especially if Van Fleet is out. So we will have to watch the news on that. But I do believe there's a great chance that Van Fleet will be out today, and that's going to definitely put Kyle Lowry at that $6,800 price tag here, really in a great position because he's $8,000, I believe, on Fanduel. So I'd rather pay the $1,200 discount here and get him at $6,800 in a favorable game. So Kyle Lowry for me in play, he's playing 38 plus minutes at $6,800. You need 34. He's averaging 38, 36 plus in 3 straight games. All right, he's shooting 44% from the floor, 39% from 3. His usage rate is at 23% thus far this year, and he's going to get a slight bump, obviously, with Van Fleet off the floor. He's taking 15, 16 shots a game. Obviously, that's going to be elevated a little bit more today as well. 6 or 7 threes can get you some rebounds and assists. And, of course, he's not a bad defender. At least he's playing better defense this year. So, you can get some steals off him. He's going up against Chicago. They're defending number 1 in the league so far against point guards, but they have been allowing, as of late, because I look at these things, 30.3 fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. Burks has put up 43. Lillard put up 38, and that's over the course of the last 5 games. So I do like I said, Kyle Lowry in there, and he is obviously an option here on FanDuel, no doubt about it. Other than those guys, you got, guy like Kimba, like I said, definitely in a nice little spot against Cleveland. Cleveland giving up 34.2 fantasy points per game. He did put up 44 against them in his first meeting against them. And then you come down a little bit lower. Ricky Rubio is not in a bad position, too. Minnesota, 32.4 fantasy points per game. And obviously that's his last. He won his former organization as well. You got Bledsoe is someone you can consider. You come down a little lower other than Alonzo Ball, you could go with Jeff Teague here, especially, this is not a bad matchup against Phoenix. Rubio's been playing pretty good defense, but Phoenix has been giving up 39.3 fantasy points per game to the opposition over the last few games. DeAnthony Melton is someone you can consider, too, going up against Golden State. They're vulnerable there as well. Granted, D'Angelo Russell's back, but D'Angelo Russell is not a great defender, and he's been playing the point for them. So at 35.7 fantasy points per game, he is definitely in a good spot as well with the amount of time he's been playing as of late for the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's go over to shooting guard. At shooting guard at the top, you got James Harden. Harden is always in play. He's usually in my GPP, cash lines. I don't play cash, but I'm saying, like, for my people, I will let you guys know. Obviously, he's one of the top dogs in the league, and he is in a favorable matchup here at home against Sacramento. He's definitely in play. Will I play him a whole lot? I don't believe so. I think that you can pay down and be able to get just as much success today, or at least get some people to smash more to exceed value. Drew Holiday, definitely someone you can consider. 8,500. I do like his price tag better, obviously, on DK. Going to come down. Donovan Mitchell is also in a good spot against OKC. But at shooting guard, for me here, I'm going to go with a Toronto Raptor, and I'm going to go with Norman Powell. I really do believe that Van Fleet is going to be out, and I think he is the guy that I'm going to probably pencil in also on DK. So pencil him in here as well on Fanduel as well as DK. Van Fleet 5,700. You need 27 to me value on DK. He's 4,900. You need about 24. As you can see, he's averaging 23 and 22 plus over the last 4 games. As you can see here, 22, 36, 37, 41 is capable of getting you high 15 to as much as 20 points from the floor. Can get you some assists, get you some rebounds, and he's not a bad defender, man. And he's going to get an opportunity. I look at it, 4 steals over the last 2 games and about 9 steals over the last 4. So he's definitely very active on the defensive end of the floor. I do expect him to get a bump in usage and shots and minutes today. Easily over 30 minutes, I will believe. He's averaging 28 minutes a game. He has 40-point upside. As you can see, he got 41 here before. He's been in the 30s a couple of times. Competitive games, he's been playing, in some of those key critical moments as well. But like I said, Van Fleet out, I would think he's going to start at shooting guard, and they'll keep OG at small forward and Pascal Siakam at power forward. He's been averaging 28, so he's been shooting 46% from the floor, 37% from 3. He's a good free throw shooter, can get you some rebounds, and he's a decent defender, can get you the steals and blocks. Like I said, his usage rate is at 19%. I expect him to be over 20 today. He's taking 10, 11 shots a game on average and 6 or 7 threes. If he buries those at 40 to 45%, he should be able to break 27 fantasy points here. I don't see no reason why not. He's going up against Chicago. They're 12th in defending shooting guards, allowing 28.5 fantasy points per game. They did give up 33 to Glenn Robinson III just a few games ago, and 4 games back they gave Buddy Hield 40 fantasy points. So 40 and 33 over the last 5 games. Norman Powell in play for me as a cheaper value play for you guys today. And other than that, there are other options. Like I said, Harden in play, Drew Holiday in play, Donovan Mitchell will be someone you can consider. Buddy Hield versus Houston in a good spot as well. 34.4 fantasy points per minute given up by Houston. D'Angelo Russell over Memphis. I do think that's an option as well. They're giving up 31.2 fantasy points per game. And of course, if there's no Kawhi Leonard, which I believe so, obviously Lou Will is in play as well. He'll be one of my favorite guys there as well. He's at Lou Will's at 6,800. If Kawhi is out, which we all believe because it's a front end of a back-to-back, then he is definitely in play. So we go over here, and let me just pencil in Mr. Norman Powell as well. And where are you, my friend? Here you go, 4,900. All right, let's go over back to FanDuel. Small forward at the top. You got Giannis, Brandon Ingram, Siakam, and George. Obviously, if Kawhi is out, Paul George is in play, and that's a simple decision for me today on FanDuel. On DK, you can. I'm playing him on DK as well at 7,800. Again, I don't play a ton of lines on DK. I play mostly on FanDuel, and recently I've been playing more on Yahoo as well. But Paul George, 8,700, you pretty much need 43. He's averaging 37. On DK, 7,800, you only need 8 to me value. And he is averaging pretty much 37 on FanDuel. So, he's definitely someone to consider. He gets an automatic big bump in usage, and he already is playing his usage rate is already at about 30%, even with Kawhi on the floor. So, you expect that to be plus, 30-plus usage rate for him today. Numbers have been pretty good. He's averaging 37. He had a 54 spot in his last game against Washington. He's been a little up and down, but 32 or better in 3 out of the last 4. We know he has 50-point upside. Can definitely get you 60. He's a great point-per-minute player. He's been pretty much averaging 1.2, 1.3 fantasy points per minute. So, at that rate, you're going to do well. As you can see, he did 25 minutes there, had 27 floor points, 6, and 4 steals with a 54 in his last game. Okay. He's playing 29-plus minutes a game, does a bit of everything, rebounds, assists, can get you steals, and the occasional block, as you can see here on the screen. He's shooting 45% from the floor, 42% from 3. Excellent free throw shooter. He's been averaging 93% on the foul line. Usage rate is at 31% on average, and it's going to be at least 32, 33% or better today. Him and Lou Will, obviously, are the guys, and Harold that are the top 3 dogs when Kawhi is off the floor. So those guys are guys that you got to definitely consider in your own player pools as you narrowed it down at the end of the day, and try to go for one or two of the guys. You can even stack all three if you feel that you want to. You can. I don't see no reason why not. They should do well. Yusuf, so again, he's taking 16 shots a game, 7 to 8 threes on average. He's going up against Indy. They're 25th in defending small forwards, allowing 24.4, which is very low fantasy points per game, but they really haven't faced a whole lot of guys. Marcus Morris of the Knicks put up 32 in the last game, and then Solomon Hill had 39 4 games ago. Those are two guys, and we know they're not top-tier small forwards, as we know this particular category, small forwards, is not a lot of top dogs up there as far as studs are concerned. So almost any given night you get a guy like this on the floor and you got an opportunity where the game could be pretty competitive. You want to have Paul George. And also you got to remember, Paul George played his career with the Indiana Pacers, so it's a homecoming for him going back to Indy as well, if you want to consider that, revenge narrative. I don't think that's the case here, but him going back to Indiana, he'll probably want to put up a show. So Paul George in play. Other than Paul George, and he is my play also on small forward as well, on DK at 7,800. Let me go back over here. If you wanted to play some other guys there, Ingram, I do like. Ingram is actually my power forward on DK because he's 9,500 here. On DK, he's 7,500. That's $2,000 cheaper. So automatically, I have him penciled in for DK at that price tag of 7,500. Other than that, I do love, if for whatever reason Kawhi Leonard does play, then I might pivot over to a guy like Pascal Siakam in his matchup against Chicago. Chicago definitely struggles up front, and this is definitely a guy that you got to consider. He's going to be probably my other core guy other than George on my two separate core lines. So Siakam is definitely someone that I do like a whole lot today, 4,100. Going up against Chicago, who's been giving up nearly 35 fantasy points per game up front, and they're definitely a poor rebounding team, which really helps in this matchup for Siakam, who is a pretty darn good rebounder. So Siakam in play. Other than that, Isaac, a little bit of a tough matchup for Isaac today, but he has got great upside at that price tag. He can definitely get you 45, 50. I am not really high on a lot of guys here, to be totally honest with you. I think if you're going to focus on coming down, stay in this 5,000 range. OG Anunoby is in play. I think TJ Warren you got to consider. Harrison Barnes has been pretty steady and has shown some good upside this year, where he's normally been at 28 to 30, 32 over the last 2 years. He's been able to put up 35s and 40s pretty consistently up here for Sacramento this year. So he is definitely someone with a nice little upside that you can target. Jarrett Culver is another guy here at 5,200. I think these guys here, Luke Kennard as well, but OG definitely like, and Barnes a little bit more at those price tags for today's matchups. Those are guys you can definitely consider. All right, we're going to go to power forward. At power forward at the top, you got Kawhi. Game time decision here. As you can see now, there's more than likely he's going to rest. He normally doesn't play back-to-backs, and they can get by this game without Kawhi, with Harrell and Lou Will, and, of course, PG-13 doing all the work. Sabonis in play. Don't like the price tag of 8,900 because he's pretty much priced where he's at. He's been averaging 40 to 45. He hasn't really hit 50 in a long while. So I'm concerned with the price tag for him. He should be able to do okay here against the Clippers, but I definitely am not high on him at all. When I come to look here at the power forward spot, a guy like Jaren Jackson could be someone you can consider, but I like Blake Griffin here, man. He is going up against a team that really, New Orleans, this is a competitive game. Like I said, you want to have exposure to the competitive games and the high implied total games, and this is a game that he should definitely do well in. 7,200 price tag for Blake Griffin is too cheap for me in a matchup like this against New Orleans. Again, the game's got to be played. Nothing's guaranteed. So, but from what I see as far as statistics, the numbers all point to him having a good game here. 7,200, you need 36. He's averaging 31. His last two games, he's put up 30-plus minutes, which is pretty darn good because he was 2 games here where they were a little, where he only played 21 to 23 minutes, but 30 to 31 in the last 2. He had a double-double here. He's been getting some assists and some rebounds. 43 spot, which is one of the highest, actually the highest score fantasy point totals he's put up this year. But at 29 fantasy points over the last few, a 49 spot, and 31, his usage rate is at 31%, folks, in the last 2 games. That has bumped up a whole lot, taking 17 shots from the floor and 7 threes. And he's going up against New Orleans Pelicans, who have allowed 29, nearly 30 fantasy points per game to opposing power forwards. But right now, which they gave up 62 and 58 respectively to Siakam, 40 to Prince of the Nets, and Adebayo put up 53 and Gallo 41. Those are some huge numbers. This is over the course of the last 5 games. All right. They also are averaging the 5th highest percentage of three-pointers against them, 37.5 in the league. That's not only it. They're 4th worst rebounding team in the league. Okay, opponents have been really pounding them, especially in the paint. Most points given up in the paint at 52 points per game. I mean, so him and Drummond should have a field day here. And if the longest New Orleans, key players like Holiday, Ball, and of course Ingram can score, that will keep New Orleans in this game. So I'm thinking the front court of Detroit is what's going to keep this game close, and the rest of the players in the backcourt area for New Orleans is going to keep New Orleans close. If that happens, this should be a very intriguing game and a game that Blake Griffin should be able to do well because everything is there. They're 3rd worst second chance point giving team in the league as well to the opposition, the New Orleans Pelicans. So this is a great spot for Blake, and like I said, a great spot for Drummond. I will probably pair them both in a number of my lineups. I don't think for the sake of the video I'm going to core them both here, but Blake Griffin is definitely someone you should consider in your player pool. Again, nothing here is guaranteed, folks. I don't tell you to just go ahead and plug these guys. I'm letting you know what I see and what I've been able to find thus far, and at the same time be able to give you the other options that I think you may want to look at other than Blake Griffin. So again, other than Blake Griffin at power forward, again, I think Jason Tatum in a better spot than Love, the end in Rashad Holmes. I would like Tatum more there than Sabonis. You come down, I think someone like Jaren Jackson could be pretty sneaky here. His problem obviously is getting into foul trouble. Blake Griffin for me is in play. Watch this situation here with Derek Favors. I mean, he's not injured. He's just, his mother passed away, so he's grieving. Really, really tough stretch for him. But if he comes in, I don't think there's going to be a minutes restriction for Derek Favors. He could be someone you can consider here. And then coming down to the bottom, Pascal is definitely someone you can consider. Who else we have here? That's it. Kaminsky, especially if Saric doesn't go, Kaminsky gets a little bit of a bump there, so you can consider Kaminsky as well. I do always like JaMychal Green coming off the bench for the Clippers. So, I mean, there's a couple of options there. At center, and again, at power forward over here, I do like Blake Griffin. And power forward over here, I do like, Brandon Ingram. His price tag is just too cheap for Ingram in the same matchup. He should definitely do wonders here at 7,500. Averaging 42 at 75, you need about 36, 37. So he is definitely in a nice position. 30-plus minutes over the last few games. His usage rate is at 29%. He's taking 17 to 18 shots per game and about 3 or 4 threes. And Ingram does a little bit of everything. Get you rebounds, assists, and can get you some steals and some blocks now and then. He is also, obviously, as we know, one of the top key contributors to the offense for the New Orleans Pelicans. I think he's the second or the first leading on his team offensively. So they definitely need him and Holiday to do well, and they also need Ball to do well. Detroit, 13th in defending small forwards, allowing 35.6 fantasy points per game. They did give up 45 to Sabonis, 50 to Giannis, and 47 to P.J. Washington over the last few games. And again, I'm bearing this. I said small forward because he's small forward eligible on FanDuel, but he's small forward, power forward eligible on DK. So these are DK power forward numbers. Okay? So that's where we stand there. And like I said, the other guys that I mentioned are in play. We go over to center. And at center at the top, we got Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Drummond. Like I said, Drummond and Blake Griffin should definitely be able to kick butt here tonight. I will have some Drummond, but for the sake of the video, like I'm telling you, I will have exposure and quite a bit of exposure to Drummond. There are obviously a couple other options. You could go with Towns, for $400 more if you like, in a good matchup against Phoenix, but he's on the road going to Phoenix. Jonas Valanciunas all these guys are in great spots. Capella should do well here against Sacramento at 9,000. You need 45. Jonas Valanciunas, the same thing here, going up against Golden State, should be in a good spot as well. But I'm going to come down just for the sake of the video and to get someone in the mid price range that should be in a good spot. As long as Kawhi Leonard is out, you got to consider Harrell here at 7,600. He is 6,800 on DK. You only need 34 there. At 7,600 here, you need about 36, 37. He is capable of getting you near 50, so he has 50-point upside. 35.5, pretty much 36 fantasy points per game. The last two games here, not a whole lot going on because of what has happened in those games. They've either been blowout games, but 41, 46 in the games over here were a little bit more competitive. I mean, he is doing really, really good, man. There's no doubt about it. 35-plus minutes in at least 3 out of his last 5 games. And as we all know, he has, I said 50-point upside. He is definitely can get you even up to as high as 60 because he did it here against New Orleans. All right. He's shooting 60% from the floor. He's averaging about a block and a half, nearly 2 blocks a game. His usage rate is at 24%, and without no Kawhi, will easily go up to 25, 26. Will be a slight bump there. 12 to 13 shots per game, should be able to dominate a little bit more under the paint today. So Harrell in play. He's definitely in play. He's going up against Indy. They're 11th in defending centers, allowing 39.3 fantasy points per game, which is the second most to centers, at least on my list, for over the last 5 games, because I gauge stuff over 4 to 5 or 6 games the most. They gave a 39 to Steven Adams, 46 to Jaren Jackson, and 58 to Embiid, and 67 to Drummond, all in the last 4 out of the last 5 games. So huge numbers given up. I think Harrell is in a great spot here today, and he is in play here as well as on DK. Let me put him on DK here. We go Harrell, 6,800. You still have 5,400 on DK to play around with. There is some value. And again, follow along throughout the day. There are some injury news. There will be some value available. There's 6,200 still left here on Fanduel, which is a really, really respectable number. You can't even go pretty balanced throughout the rest of the way here if you were to use these 5. But again, don't go and just pencil these 5 in, zoom through the video, and just put these 5 up. Then it's not guaranteed, man. Do a little bit of homework. If you want to follow along and know where I'm at with my player pool at the end of the day, or if you want to know what I'm thinking as far as cash plays for you cash play players or GPPs, go to the tiers. Go to my Patreon page at patreon.com/DFS zone and look at the tiers and sign up for one of those, and then you'll see where I'm at towards the end of the day. I update all the way up to about a half hour to 25 minutes before lock. Okay? And that's pretty much it. That's where we at right now. At the moment, man, I wish you guys a lot of luck. Again, if you want to be a part of the giveaway, like the video, comment down below, and make sure you are subscribing to the channel. Other than that, I wish you guys a lot of luck, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.